Now that the play-ins have ended after a week and a half, we can start looking on to the standard playoff bracket that we're used to seeing every year. Hey, it's Matt from Puck Rivals, and in this video we're going to go over our full playoff predictions on who we think will win the Stanley Cup in 2020. As the play-ins showed us, season stats really didn't matter at all, so we were throwing those out the window and going only based off of how the team looks now and gut feelings. I'll be covering the whole Western prediction up to the Cup final matchup, and then Billy will be doing the East and revealing our pick for the 2020 Stanley Cup champion. Make sure to leave a comment on who you think is winning the Cup this year. And with that, let's get right into the video. Starting off with our first matchup in the West, we have the first seed Vegas Golden Knights against the 12th seed Chicago Blackhawks. Now, Chicago looked really good in upsetting the Edmonton Oilers and really looked like they were turning back the clock. The only difference in this is they're not playing the Edmonton Oilers. They're playing the Vegas Golden Knights. They're a team that's well-rounded in all areas and very deep. Not to mention they have one of Chicago's goalies from the season, Robin Lehner, who has been unreal. Now, Chicago does have the tools and the pedigree to go far, but we do not think they're going to make it out of this first round against Vegas. So we give this first round win to the Knights. Now moving on to the second first round matchup in the West, we have ranked number 2 Colorado Avalanche against ranked number 11 Arizona Coyotes. The Coyotes were another surprise team to make it out of the play-ins, really shutting down the Nashville Predators and looking really good, especially their goalie Darcy Kemper. But the Avalanche are a high-powered team with lots of superstar power and some good depth too. Not to mention they bring a good chunk of playoff experience to the table, and we think they are going to beat the Coyotes. Probably not easily because the Yotes looked really good in the play-ins, but we don't think they have the ability to shut down Nathan MacKinnon. So we give this win to the Avalanche. Now with the third matchup of the first round in the West, we have the third-ranked Dallas Stars against the 8th-ranked Calgary Flames. Calgary really took advantage of Winnipeg's bad luck with injuries in the play-ins and beat them in 4 games. They did look pretty good, and on the other side, Dallas really didn't in the round robin. They won 1 game in a shootout against St. Louis, and if I'm correct, still haven't won a game in regulation time since February. So they struggled going into the season shutdown, and they still continued to struggle in this round robin as well. So we don't think they're going to make it out of this first round, and we're giving the win to the Calgary Flames. And with our final matchup in the first round, we have reigning Stanley Cup champions, the St. Louis Blues, against the 7th-ranked Vancouver Canucks. The Canucks managed to pull off the win against Minnesota in the play-ins, and their young group is hungry for some more playoff games. But unfortunately for them, they run into the very good St. Louis Blues. They didn't do well in the round robins, but they were a team that was literally in dead last in the same season that they won the Stanley Cup. So there's no doubt they're able to bounce back. They bring a lot of experience to the table, plus a lot more depth than Vancouver has. And for these reasons, we feel they're going to pull off the win and move on to the next round, but Vancouver's still going to gain some valuable playoff experience. But this one goes to the St. Louis Blues. Now moving on to the second round, we have to be reminded of the new rules now with the seeding process. It's not going to go completely in line with who you're facing. So because Vegas finished first, they face the lower ranked Calgary Flames in the second round. Now looking at this as 2 deep teams that are very physical, have good blue lines, but Vegas does have the edge in goaltending, and we think they have more guys that can get the job done too. Calgary's definitely going to put up a good fight, and this is definitely going to be a grinding series that could go the distance. But at the end of the day, we're giving this one to the Knights, who are going to move on to the conference finals. Moving on to the next conference semifinal matchup, we have the Colorado Avalanche against the St. Louis Blues. This is going to be another really tough series because these are 2 very good teams. Colorado represents a top line that has speed and firepower, a number 1 stud defenseman, and the Blues have the ability to shut down literally anybody, and they have some of the best depth in the National Hockey League. But we have to say that Colorado has been rolling, and we feel that they will continue to roll into the Western Conference Final. So they will beat the Blues and move on to face the Vegas Golden Knights. Now in this scenario, in this conference final matchup, we have the number 1 ranked Vegas Golden Knights against the number 2 Colorado Avalanche. In a perfect world, this is what would happen. And because we're making the picks, we hope they do too. Now looking at this Western Conference final matchup, we have 2 very deep and very skilled teams. Vegas definitely does have the edge in goaltending with options of Lehner and Fleury, but Colorado does have the superiority in top-line firepower with Nathan MacKinnon, Mikko Rantanen, and Gabriel Landeskog. Both teams do have good depth in all areas, but based on the skill that they have to go along with just a general gut feeling that this is the year they're going to make a run, we have the Colorado Avalanche beating the Vegas Golden Knights in the conference final. The series will definitely be a bloodbath, but we feel that Nathan MacKinnon will lead the Colorado Avalanche to the Stanley Cup final. And now that we know our pick is the Avs in the Stanley Cup final for the West, we need to know who they're going to be facing in the Cup final. So it's time for Billy to take over and cover the rest of our playoff predictions. Take it away, Billy.
Alright, thanks Matt. Let's waste no time and start with the first matchup in the East. The first seed Philadelphia Flyers versus the surprise 12 seed Montreal Canadiens. The Habs shocked the hockey world when they upset the Pittsburgh Penguins last round, and Carey Price looked to be in his old form. Philly, on the other hand, continued their hot streak from the end of the regular season and claimed the first seed. As well as Carey Price has been playing, the Flyers just look way too good, and for that reason we have them over the Habs in the first round. The next matchup will see a rematch between the 2nd seed Tampa Bay Lightning and the 9th seed Columbus Blue Jackets. The Jackets battled hard and defeated their qualifier opponent Toronto Maple Leafs in 5, but this time they have to slay a giant in Tampa Bay. And as we know, they did actually sweep them last year, but we don't think Tampa's going to allow that to happen again. Assuming Stamkos and Hedman are good to go, we're going with the Bolts in this matchup. Next up, we have the 3rd seed Washington Capitals up against the 7th seed New York Islanders. Washington didn't quite look their best in round-robin play, and the Isles didn't seem to skip a beat, handling the Panthers with ease. The Isles found their game and played to Barry Trotz's system effectively, so we think they're going to shut down Washington's offense and move on to the next round. They're the type of team that can shut down any offense. And the last matchup in the first round sees the Boston Bruins go up against the Carolina Hurricanes. Boston really looked far from their best in the round robin, losing all 3 games and scoring 4 goals total. On the other hand, the Hurricanes steamrolled the Rangers and looked in prime postseason form. They rolled to victory, and it was so clear that they were the better team. We think Carolina is going to ride this momentum, and with Boston looking so poor, we have the Canes taking this matchup. That's it for the first round, so let's move on to the conference semis for the East. Like Matt explained earlier, each round reseeds, so for our bracket we have the Flyers matched up against the Islanders. This could be a real grinded out type of series for both of these teams, but with the Flyers so well rounded in every area, we think they'll take it to the Isles and end up as victors. This Flyers team is built in a way that they can beat you if you're defensive like the Islanders, or if you're an offensive juggernaut such as Tampa. The second Eastern semifinal matchup has the Tampa Bay Lightning going up against the Carolina Hurricanes. This is a series I can see going the distance. Both teams are so good in pretty much all areas. However, with the way the Hurricanes have been playing, and Tampa's known struggles in the playoffs, we have the Canes advancing to the Eastern Conference Finals. Speaking of the Eastern Conference Finals, as you now know, we have the Flyers going up against those Hurricanes. This would be such an awesome Conference Finals matchup. Both of these teams are built for deep playoff runs and both play an exciting game. I feel like for sure the series would go to 7 games. It was really quite tough to choose between both of these teams because we could see either one in the finals. But our gut told us that Philly would take the cake and face the Avalanche in a showdown for the Stanley Cup. So there you have our Stanley Cup final. This would surely be one of the more exciting possible matchups this year. The offensive juggernaut Avalanche versus a very well-rounded Flyers team. Both teams would have to absolutely grind out wins in this series, as obviously neither team will go down without a fight. It is the finals after all. After much deliberation, we decided that Nathan MacKinnon and the Avs offense might be a bit too much for the Flyers D and inexperienced goaltender to handle, crowning the Avalanche as 2020 Stanley Cup Champions. Obviously, the Stanley Cup bracket is incredibly difficult to predict. So many upsets are possible in this sport, and really any team involved has a legit shot at the cup. That's what makes these bracket predictions so fun though. Anybody could get it right. We went with our gut and with how we saw teams playing leading up to this point. Leave a comment on your Stanley Cup prediction, as I'm sure many of you will have different opinions. We're so glad to have hockey back, so let's sit back and enjoy these playoffs. This is Billy from Puck Rivals, and I'll see you next time.